It would be weird if we came back with an episode of something that wasn't Loose Canon.
Yeah, Loose Canon bringing back I don't even know, the Ishtar Collective podcast. Just something different like that. Something crazy. This week, now that we're back after another month-long break instead of the bi-weekly, we are talking about the Festival of the Lost, which is still going on. If you're watching this live, if you're listening to this afterwards, it might be over. Festival of the Lost is a holiday mainly for the people of the city, right? Like it wasn't until even canonically recently that the Guardians partook in this event, right? Like that's kind of a new thing for everyone.
Yeah, so I think it was like 2015 where we had the first. So after the game launched, we didn't have a Festival of the Lost.
Yeah, we didn't have any events for the first year.
And then it was 2015, and yeah, I think there's a Grimoire card, Festival of the Lost, which is about how Ava brought this tradition from the city to the tower.
Yeah, and it was a complete surprise. Like nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
There's no lead up, hint, or anything.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that like now it's a regular occurrence. Yeah, like we expect it.
Last year we were like, why isn't there a Festival of the Lost? And now we kind of see why, because like last year the Red War campaign happened, and like kind of canonically it didn't end. Even though we finished it in a week, it didn't actually end for a couple months. So like the Festival of the Lost, we didn't have a city then. We wouldn't be celebrating the Festival of the Lost.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought of it like that. It's kind of strange how time, like I know we've spoken before about canonically how long do certain events last.
Yeah,
and it sometimes takes a bit of like kind of. It's just a bit strange how obviously in a game where different people are finishing the same events at different times, there has to, like.
When is the joint like progression based and
exactly
Right.
Like a good example of that is that they actually said that the Curse of Osiris actually picked up basically around the time of December. Like it happened within like our time, roughly a couple months after the end of the or the beginning of the Red War campaign, and then almost a year later from the Red War campaign in July, we're getting the Solstice of Heroes, which is saying this is the anniversary of the Red War campaign. So it's kind of like time slows and speeds up just to fit the needs of the game. Because obviously you don't want Solstice of Heroes falling on the launch week of Forsaken, where it's like, okay, new content, but also super grindy shit that's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, it's true.
So Festival of the Lost was the first kind of event in Destiny we ever got. It was an amazing surprise, and its main purpose, as said in the card, was to live is to experience loss. Eva said, "My husband and child are dead. My friends, my neighbors, the children I watched over on our road to the city, all gone now. The festival celebrates their lives with both joy and sorrow." And so, I mean, kind of like. It comes in October. We get masks. We get candy. We in the original event, we went trick or treating. We went to all the NPCs, and they gave us like gumdrops and shit. Sour engrams, sugary engrams, void fizz, just like random things like that.
Chocolate strange coins back.
Yeah, the chocolate strange coins. It's like random things like that, and then we go to Eris, who is like not having Festival of the Lost whatsoever, and she gives us raisins.
which is brilliant.
Yeah.
We never did get our ants on a log, did we?
No, we got Ascendant raisins and celery, and then we got charred celery from Cade in Destiny 2. Or rather, we got raisins, and then fast forward a year, the raisins became Ascendant, And that year she gave us celery instead. And it was like everyone was saying it's gonna be ants on the log. We're gonna get peanut butter next year. But next year didn't really happen, and now Eris is gone on top of it all. So she's not there to give us the peanut butter. And our celery was burnt up in the fall of the tower.
Yeah, it's like you were expecting something to happen and then they didn't give it to you.
I still have faith. I have faith in the direction that Bungie are taking, and that we will get our peanut butter.
She's gonna come back and give us peanut butter and be like, now you can have ants on a log. And we're like, but we only have peanut butter. She's been like, how dare you lose my celery and raisins?
And ship.
The raisins have.
You lose the celery, you lose the raisins, you lose my ship.
Eris hates us.
I've had enough.
How dare you not keep this food for 4 years?
I'm going back to the Hellmouth.
We just blame it all on Cade.
It'd be so great if we actually went back to another planet and we found the raisins.
That would be awesome. Like we actually get the moon back and we just like find Ascendant raisins. It's like a rare drop in a cache. That'd be fucking great.
Well, that's the end of this quest going on, is that we get ants on a log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would it do though? Would it even do anything? Would it just be a thing that we store in our vault and forget about and then just like laugh about? Would that just be it? Like start and finish?
Be with Cade's coupon.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said it before, but this game is always about giving you just enough so that you'll want more. You know, it's never enough, no matter what.
It's true.
But
gotta have my peanut butter.
On the topic of Ascendant Raisins, there actually was a Grimoire card for the Ascendant Raisins. Long ago, a legend foretold the ascension of the raisins. Find the three-eyed one, it said. Disperse among the bearers of light, and wait. If you are worthy, if you are patient, if you are not lost or thrown away, you will ascend. And the raisins waited quietly. Now they rise. Because it was the losers like us who were like, no, she gave us raisins. These are something. And we're holding on to a box of digital raisins that you can't do anything with. Yeah. And a year later, they turned to Ascendant.
For a whole year.
Yeah, for a whole fucking year.
It's in our inventory.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that, you know, when they brought out the new Kvostov, I kind of wish that it was only the people who'd kept Kvostov from like
that was another
start
thing
of
they
the
did. The people that kept it, you could dismantle it and start the quest immediately. If you didn't keep your
yeah,
original
that's true.
Kvostov, you had to like go around and find the parts. So you got like a head start on that quest.
Yeah, I still have my black hammer.
I still have my Ascendant raisins.
Nice.
Never deleting those.
So yeah, this year in the Festival of the Lost, we haven't gotten any candy, unless I've missed something.
No
Our engrams are now, instead of candy, candles.
They're pretty cool actually.
I want an ephemeral engram candle.
Let me
I don't
just
know
check
how
the
they're not
Bungie
selling
store to
those.
see if anything's.
Yeah,
Maybe-
engrams as candles. Why not? That would be great.
How do you like strategically melt the wax of
Yeah.
an engram candle to get it to be in that shape exactly? That's
But you know, you'd probably
Do a
you'd,
wax
I want.
form.
you'd probably want like it would probably be like, okay, here's Bungie, if you're listening, this is for free. So it should actually be a plastic candle, right? Really. But you know, you get those fake candles where they have like a fake flame.
Yeah.
Because you don't actually want your.
Well, I
your
want the
engram
actual candle. I just don't
down.
ever want to light it.
That's the
But,
problem.
but what if you could light it, but it never burns down?
An ever burning candle?
Yeah, like I bought a bunch of. I would have to go and get them, but I bought a bunch of like battery powered candles for Halloween, and
The little flicker flame.
yeah, they look like a candle, but they actually have a little. I think they have an electromagnet inside it, and they shine a light up on a flame shaped object, and the electromagnet causes it to move about like a flame would. Very convincing. From a distance, it's very convincing. It's great. So, Yeah.
What a great tangent that was.
If you ever wanted to know how these electric candles work,
It's an electromagnet. You heard it here first.
So one thing I really liked about Festival of the Lost was the masks, though. Like this year we got masks, and they were really good. You know, like we got Gaul, we got the Nightmare Realm Callus. What else we got? We got a Scorn,
Jade Rabbit.
yeah, not even just the Jade Rabbit, but the Raging Lepus Jade Rabbit.
Right. What in the world are they setting up?
Why? What has been Bungie's like? How do I say this not inappropriately?
That's unlike you.
The most ominous character.
Why are they so on Jade Rabbit? We got Jade Rabbit SRL gear, a Jade Rabbit mask now. The Jade Rabbit came back, and it has the Raging Lepus ornament. Like, they just really keep bringing in Jade Rabbit. It's like someone at Bungie is just like a really big fan of the Jade Rabbit, and they're like, no, I want Jade Rabbit everything. This is happening. Right. I'm forcing this.
It's never going to play out. We're just going to keep getting little like references to it forever. Like, it's never going to play out.
I feel like
I think
Jade Rabbit is probably somebody's pet, you know, and it's like, I'm not going to release this until the very last minute. I'm just going to tease it entirely.
Yeah.
All through the game.
Maybe. I think it's interesting because the two-tailed fox is
also
similar
made by Dido.
design. Yeah. It's kind of,
and that's
it's
another
like
thing.
Fleshing out that
Dido
kind of brand.
Dido is one of those foundries that always sat in the background, but unlike things like Cassoid, Dido has like been more seen, like on the what was that Venus map, the small Venus map, with the B on the upper stairs, and then the A and C like on the back
Shores
of the
of Time?
Not Shores of Time.
No, I feel really disappointed. I don't know.
Like not Last Exit, the other one.
It was the one that was part of the
Pantheon. What's it called?
Pantheon's on Mars.
Was it the Floating Gardens?
No, in D1.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Like year one.
Year one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
It wasn't year one, was it?
Oh, it was close to year one. It wasn't Rise of Iron.
Oh, Asylum.
Yes, Asylum. Thank you.
Asylum, yeah.
What was my point about this?
I don't know.
Something about Daito.
Oh yeah, Dido. On Asylum, there were like ads flickering in and out, and Dido would always like flicker on. I'm like, why is Dido here? Like, is Dido Golden Age? Like, what's up with that? And like, did they continue throughout the Golden Age? Because now Dido has a room in the tower up above the Future War Cult. Like what's up with that? Like, is Dido like actually a Future War Cult like property? Like, this is completely off topic.
Yeah. But, real quick sidebar. I always thought it was the precursor to a lot of the weapon foundries that were around, because the Daito would have been the original hidden weapons foundry that pretty much spawned everything else afterwards. Like, just reading all the items that are related to Dido, that's what I kind of assumed over the years. And then as we refound a lot of the old weapons, we kind of reassembled them, and then Dido kind of was born again, just a different way. But it's funny how they drop these little Daito emblems and icons everywhere. There seems to be some sort of thing related to the ghost and the Ishtar, and then you've got the ones found on Mars around the what is it called?
On a basically Ishtar connected map, we have Dido ads flickering. Ishtar was one of the spawns of the Future War Cult. Like, it's all like related together. It just really. Sometimes I feel like, is Bungie accidentally doing things and we're just like really latching onto it, or are they like really just like Dido is associated to Future War Cult, which is associated to Ishtar, so let's put this here and one day we'll fucking get to that. But like,
I just want to say it's really amusing me that just because of your accents, the way that you say, oh, the way that you say Daito is like Dido, and I just keep imagining like the singer Dido. Is that her name? Like,
yeah,
I want to
Dido.
thank you.
That's actually is it Rhino and Guardian too, or is it just me who's saying Dido?
No, it's all of everybody. Everybody said Dido.
Yeah, we don't really
Guardian,
we
you
don't
say
harden
Dido.
the T. We don't harden the T. Generally.
See, he said Daito.
Well, you've all alternated between the different pronunciations of points.
Because that's actually a Connecticut accent. Not pronouncing your T's. You don't say Connecticut if you live in Connecticut. You say Connecticut. Even though it is Connecticut. No, a lot of people do, like out of the state.
Really, that's the weirdest way to say it.
When you know it, you start to hear it. Like when you know that's how other people say it, you start to realize they say it.
It's annoying.
Whatever.
Dido.
Either way, maybe Dido is a thing, and maybe Daito is from the Golden Age.
Dido was very popular during the Golden Age.
Yeah, pre-Golden Age.
Yeah.
But so then, the masks were always my favorite thing, and I really liked how people would wear the masks, like around the tower. Like Rahul wore the engram, and there was like 5 engrams. There was a blue, a green, a purple, a gold. You know, like what? Why not just bring all the masks back? Like, although at the same time, thank you for not bringing all the masks back, because 40 freaking shards for a mask, I would kill myself.
It's impossible.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Yeah.
Just the challenges alone to unlock. Did you see some of these? I couldn't do it. There's so many.
I finished off the event triumph. I was like, I'm getting this done, and I'm never even gonna think about it. I'm not gonna think about it for another year.
Yeah, as soon as I finished all my traps, like I'm done. I'm not touching this anymore.
So I missed that the NPCs weren't wearing the masks, but since we're actually sort of talking about this event and how we got the masks, let's really dive into the purpose of this event. It used to be in D1, Eva brought the Festival of the Lost and the Dawning. And Crimson Days? Did she bring Crimson Days?
Eva? Crimson?
I don't think so.
Was that
Well,
just like a
maybe.
Shax
Tied
thing?
to her.
I feel as though Ava was kind of associated with a lot of the events that happened, but I don't know if she was as responsible for Crimson Days as
No,
she was really, in terms of like introducing the Festival of the Lost, like she was 100% responsible.
Yeah,
for
and
that.
the Dawning.
Yeah, but I don't know about Crimson Days. The only origin I can think of is that grimoire card that talks about the 2 guardians. You know.
Well, apparently that's like 2 guardians is always a thing. Like there's always the story about 2 guardians, and that's like a running trend in Destiny that we've seen a few times. But either way, D1 was very Eva focused with these events. It was like very much she's the one bringing it to the tower because she's like the grandmother of the tower, and she just wants to give everyone candy, and everyone, of course, therefore loves her. With Destiny 2, however, with Destiny 2, however,
I don't know what was amusing about that. That seems perfectly normal to me.
Yeah. Destiny 2, Eva has not returned to the tower. We've had some scandals that said that she's down in the city working with people, etc. But Amanda didn't want people to be dwelling on Cade's death, and also she wanted to like honor Cade's death. That's what the Festival of Lost is about, you know. So like this time, Amanda's trying to bring it forward, and in doing so, we also got an actual quest, not just okay, now go around and go get some candy from NPCs, but like something weird is happening on Io, right? It starts on Io, and we need you to go figure it out. So everyone's done the quest, I'm assuming, right? Like everyone's played within the last 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the title of that mission was Festival of the Lost Sector.
Yeah, Festival of the Lost Sector. Yeah,
Nice.
that's it.
The one thing that flipped me up about that is as soon as I was watching it without any kind of spoiler or knowing anything had happened yet, is when we saw that simulation seed. That's when
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my goodness, what is it doing here on Io? You know, it was the
Yeah.
first thing I noticed, and how that kind of branched over. I think a lot of people glossed over that, and
That's
they didn't
something I
really
actually want to
connect.
talk about. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, essentially, what's happening on Io is the Taken and the Vex appear to be working together, almost, right? Like they were kind of they were like fighting each other, but it kind of felt like, I don't know.
convergence.
Yeah, it was like a convergence was happening among them, but they were kind of like against it. Like it was being forced upon them, right? Like that's
Right.
kind of the vibe I got.
Which kind of ties back to the whole, the whole thing with what was it with Korea,
Mhm.
Blade transformed. It was like, oh, surprise, you found me. You remember in the Books of Sorrow.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of weird how the Taken the Vex can be imposed on the Taken, if you
Well,
will.
yeah, I was thinking about one of the old IO missions when I was playing that, where it was where Asher was essentially saying when the Taken were taking Vex goblins. You remember that with the blights, they would drop them onto the Vex and they'd become Taken on that
Yeah.
that adventure. I think it was actually the post campaign quest.
Yeah. It's
And so like Asher's like, the Taken are idiots. The Vex are gonna infect them. What are they thinking? And it's like, well, they already have a like high ranking Vex mind as a partially Taken entity. So like, is it kind of a two-way street? Like, are the Vex infecting the Taken and the Taken also infecting the Vex? Like, would that kind of makes it feel like there would be conflict, but eventually a convergence where they're almost one entity, because the Vex have a singular will and the Taken have no will. So it's kind of
that's the funny thing about Asher, and when we first were introduced to him,
Mhm.
and when that buzzword came out, I really honed in on that, because before that it was always speculation. Are
Mhm.
the Vex and the Taken, are the Hive, the Vex and the Taken going to have some sort of shared power? Are they going to evolve into some
I did
super
not like those
enemy?
theories that
Yeah,
were
yeah, I know.
saying like the Vex are the Hive from the future, and like,
Right,
what?
right. Somebody even pointed out that the ship that Oryx, before he was Oryx, the Nico ship. What is it called?
Well,
Anyway.
that was the ship
The
before he
Needle.
was Oryx was the Needle, but you're thinking of the Nika Thought ship. That's when he was
Yeah.
Oryx, though.
Yeah.
He
So,
fought
okay,
someone on
so
that.
so the Nika Thought ship. Somebody pointed out that could have been, and this is just a spin foil thing, but somebody pointed out that could have been the future enemy race that we'll fight later on. Uh, and that was the triangle ships or the pyramid ships, and that somehow because he made a line about, I'm going to go find it, but I wanted to eat it. I wanted to eat whatever was on the actual ship he was looking for, but he found a different ship and he was like, oh well, this will work, let me turn it inside out and make it my throne world. And so then that's, he brought that to us. But somebody was saying, what if that was the pyramid ship? What if all of this crap that happened was kind of a stirring of the pot, if you will, and all these little enemy races were spawned out of all these different events that our enemies that we fight kind of were tampering with things they found, and it all tied back to the pyramid ships. I thought that was kind of a neat idea.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm definitely gonna have to go back and reread that, because that's an interesting that's definitely an interesting idea. I just don't remember it enough to like actually say one way or the other,
Right.
But I'm really
right.
interested in that.
I just remember it was maybe a year ago and somebody kind of threw that out. But the thing about Asher was he was throwing out these little buzzes about convergence, about we're approaching a singularity, and that the little things that they drop about the IO flux tube and everything being connected across the soul system through one basic conduit of light that's kind of branching out to something that we have yet to have encountered way out there. and it all ties back to here. And then our planets are kind of tied in this spherical orbit of light and stuff like that. So I just thought it was kind of neat how Asher puts out this just throwaway line. Oh, it's a convergence. And then we're just kind of like, oh, whatever. I don't know what that means.
I love your Asher impression.
It's pretty good.
I think he's probably the easiest character for most people to do an impression of. He's the inner nerd.
So then what about that? What about those simulation seeds? We saw Cyclopses in the lost sectors, and then when we destroyed them, all that was left was a simulation seed. And based on, I think it's the Garden World Strike. Is that the one with the Cabal that gets stuck?
Yep.
Based on the Garden World, we had to go in there and stop them from taking whatever perceived death machine the Vex had created out of the Infinite Forest. So it kind of feels like the Infinite Forest actually does have lethal capabilities. They can create something within there and use that item out in the real world. So are these Cyclopses fake? Are they from the Infinite Forest?
They somehow impose their world onto our material world. So they're I don't want to call it fake, but they're made world.
Well, that's what I mean. Are they are these were those simulated Cyclopses? And when we destroyed them, all that was left was the simulation seed, and that's actually what they get used for. They use a simulation seed, kind of like you would use whatever the material is for a 3D printer.
That's
they just.
You see, the thing that I find a bit weird, right, is that in Destiny 1. Before Curse of Osiris, really, when we talk about simulations, there's never any implication that a Vex simulation is going to. Well, there's no implication that a Vex simulation is going to leave the simulation. That an entity from within a Vex simulation could somehow leave.
I disagree.
Okay.
The Ishtar team.
No, you see that the difference there is not that
they pulled 200 something scientists out of the simulation.
No, they pulled out simulated scientists.
Yes.
They didn't pull out people who could wander around. So let me be more specific.
Okay.
When a Vex mind is trying to plan, right, okay, I want to understand what's going on here, and it simulates the world around it with this incredibly high fidelity simulation. Up until Curse of Osiris, that's always treated like this exists within a computer. There's never been any kind of implication that because they have simulated a hive knight, there can be a hive knight in the real world. That's before Curse of Osiris, that didn't make any sense.
So then how do you explain the scientists that made it out of the simulation?
Because it's just their minds that are simulated. They have to be given exo whatever bodies to go into, and they're released into the Vex network, but that doesn't actually mean that they are that just means that the process that they are running as is put onto the network.
They're basically a simulated program running on the Vex network as a hardware contained within the network of the Vex, which is basically hardware. So there's running software at some point.
Yes, there's no physical scientist. Do you know what I mean? That was my understanding anyway. They didn't.
But they had physical scientists at the terminus.
No, but that was a simulation. So, who had? Can you? Maybe I misunderstood what you meant there.
The Ishtar team from the Ghost Fragment Vex series. They were on Venus with duplicates of each other out of the simulation, and they were going back into the Vex network to chart it.
But that was.
And they were going in via the terminus.
I never interpreted that as there being actual scientists.
They had to use exo bodies because they were going into the Vex network.
Right, but they did when they pulled out those scientists. they didn't like 3D print or whatever the hell it is, like.
But they were
actual
3D
scientists'
printed
bodies.
they were like 3D printed within the network, within the simulation. Coming
Right.
out was just coming out. Like that was just opening the box and pulling it out.
I don't agree with that. I don't think there was. I didn't interpret that as there being physical scientists in the real world.
And to just to move it along though, to agree with you and say, okay, there has never been to agree with you and to say that there has never been a situation where a physical item or person or being came out of the Vex simulation until Curse of Osiris. I would go so far as to say that makes the most sense as well, because the city has kind of kept, like the Speaker, the Vanguard, they've purposefully kept everyone in the dark on anything they could, unless it was absolutely necessary for them to be known. And the Speaker, the Vanguard, everyone shunned Osiris for the things he was saying. If there was a turn of events where they were like, okay, well, this guy actually knows what he's talking about, maybe we should look into this, we might have had pre-knowledge, pre-Curse of Osiris, that the Vex can actually do that type of action.
Right.
Well, but at the same time, I don't think it's like Osiris was the Vanguard commander for a reasonable amount of time, and so I think, yeah, it's true that the post his exodus, post his banishment, whatever
His
you call
exile.
it, from his exile from the city. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of his a lot of the lessons that he could have taught were lost.
Yeah.
But I think even before then, I don't think there was any implication that there was that was even possible.
But I'm just saying there is a narrative reason for there to be no implication, because the Vanguard would have swept that under the rug, saying like that's heretical. We don't want anyone to think that. That's not what should be thought.
They saw what was happening with the fanatics, and they didn't want the entire city to. I mean, it's all about
Exactly.
It's all about maintaining control and keeping people from a state of panic and this.
Think about what a Guardian would do if you said the Vex can simulate anything, and the things that they can simulate can become physical items for you to take away. And how many Guardians would be like, for real? Like, and just go get lost in the Vex network and never come
we're
out.
not best friends with them.
Yeah.
Can I sidetrack y'all for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, this is already a sidetrack.
Yeah,
so
we're
I
supposed to be
don't-
talking about the haunted forest.
Well,
What the hell?
It's Festival of the Lost. I mean, it's a big mess. It's crazy. It's about everything, but then it's about nothing. So, I did y'all ever notice that the Speaker and Eva had the same outfitter emblem in D1? Did y'all ever notice that?
No, I
No.
didn't.
You know, I went.
Eva
through
made
the
it custom for him.
Right. I went through the whole game in D1, and right before D2 launched, I noticed that one day, and I was just like, that's hilarious. Why did I never pay attention to that emblem beside her? And it was the same as the Speakers. Not that it means anything, but it was just funny. It was just something funny. Like how you can go so long in this game without noticing little things.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah.
So going back to the whole like taking simulations out of the Infinite Forest,
I'm
because
just
the
saying-
Infinite Forest is simulations, but we can enter it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
it's like
as
the
well.
confusing
Like,
part.
yeah, I find that really weird as well.
So-
like,
I just want to say really quick, if the Vault of Glass was the epitome of power for the Vex, and the Black Garden was meant to bring forth those powers to the real world, would the Vault of Glass not kind of... Is the Vault of Glass real? Is the Vault of Glass a simulation? Like, what is the physicality of the Vault of Glass? Because we've gotten rewards. We've gotten Vex Mythoclast. It's even canonically... Vex Mythoclast is in the
Well,
game. There are
so-
Guardians that are saying, I miss my Vex Mythoclast. And it's like...
But a lot of people kind of tied that up with a little bow and said that the Vault of Glass was somehow related to the Vex's interpretation of how the Hive and the way that they worship and how they wanted to, gain that ultimate power. So you can see that the Vex see that there are other enemies that they perceive as more powerful or gaining more power over the universe, and they want that, so they're simulating them, and they're trying to do their best to figure out what works for them and apply it to their own knowledge.
And that's kind of what I mean, though. Like, these items from the Vault of Glass are coming out of the Vault of Glass. Is the Vault of Glass real? Is the Vault of Glass a simulation? Like, what exactly is it? Like, it just feels like there's a lot about the Vex that is being purposefully hidden from us.
So with the Vault of Glass, so that there's a hugely important difference, I think, between what we are told about the Vault of Glass and what we're told about the Infinite Forest. And with the Infinite Forest, the Vex simulate all of the species.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, not the Taken, but they simulate,
Orscorn, but yeah.
Oscorn, yeah. They simulate the
Seedless
Elixir.
Splicers.
Yeah.
They simulate anything that they have encountered.
Well, they've encountered the Taken, but there's probably a good reason why they don't simulate the Taken.
They probably
But anyway,
can't.
but
yeah, to not get further.
Yeah, my point is that we are told that the Infinite Forest is a tool that the Vex use to understand other species and to build strategies for defeating those species.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the Vault of Glass, they never spawn any Hive or Fallen or Cabal.
I fought Fallen in the Vault of Glass.
Oh, but they weren't spawned by the Vex though. The Vex didn't just summon them up out of nothing, you know.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
and my understanding is that, like, I'm not saying within the Infinite Forest the Vex's resources are unlimited. There still seems to be some limitations to what they could do, but comparatively few limitations. Like, it seems like if they wanted to, they could just spawn hundreds of.
Just to kind of point something out, like what you said, the Vault of Glass, in and of its name, the Vault of Glass. I mean, it's a part of the Vex networks, and it's a part of their understanding. It's a part of their manifestation of their physical trying to reshape and make Vex better, basically. And then the Infinite Forest is their way of trying every possible random equation and solution to the problem, which is their world that they can't dominate and control yet, or remap or reshape or retool, whatever. So the Infinite Forest is it's their processor in a way. It's their way of taking all of the information that they have around them and then throwing it at each other, and just to kind of come up with the solution as to how to defeat and ultimately win against the reality that they're faced with. So
yeah, I agree 100%.
They're not going to take their experimental part of their hardware and remap it so that it branches into the Vault of Glass. The only connector there would be, okay, this works. Let's apply it to our own Vex, which is a part of our own connected.
But I think.
So then, what you're saying is there's never been this insinuation that the Vex can simulate a physical item, a real world simulation coming out. Well, but do you agree that with Curse of Osiris moving forward, that is a possibility?
I do, and I think that changes things. I think that changes things completely.
As long as we can agree on that,
I think that that there is one. Is there an adventure that suggests that, like, some Cabal might escape the simulation?
That's the strike. That's the strike that I was saying.
Is that the strike?
They got stuck in the simulation, but they wanted to come out with, like, tools of destruction.
Yeah, in the simulation, they are aware that they are stuck in the simulation and that there's no real way out. Almost, it's almost like the Cabal that were created that are in the simulation have become aware that they're stuck in the simulation, and now
are they? I don't think they were aware. There's a card that they say, like, they kind of say, like, what they're doing, and they repeat. They just keep repeating what they're doing, like, every time.
Right, but there's a line in there, and it's like, okay, well, they're trying to figure out why things, or the Vex are trying to figure out why this didn't work last time when the Guardians showed up and smashed them, and then they come in again and they smashed them, and then they're like, okay, that didn't work, strike that, and then they reboot.
So I feel like for me, kind of like the logical assumption is that the Infinite Forest, with how it's working with us, is that it's like a pocket world.
Hmm.
Because like we've seen a huge buildup on like side dimensions and pocket worlds, and like the Black Garden, technically was in another like dimension or another like plane. Like it
Hmm.
existed somewhere else, and then at some point we fused it with our world.
When we destroyed the Black Heart, yeah.
Yeah, so it's something where it's still like it's in another plane and it's where the effects control it, but it can come into our dimension and be real. So it's like with
That's a good
the
point.
Infinite Forest, like when we step to that door, that might just be a gateway to a completely other like plane of existence. So everything in there is real, but the Vex just haven't brought it out yet, or they're just staying there. So it's a whole other world of theirs, and so that's why we can bring out simulation seeds and bring it to Brother Vance.
Maybe the term simulation is an ignorant one that is causing confusion.
We're
Well, I
just
think it's
simplifying it because
yeah,
we can't think of what's actually going on.
Yeah, like that's the
Well,
only way that
yeah,
we can
you're
perceive it. It's a
right.
it's a simulation.
It's not a but it's not a, if the things that exist in that simulation can leave the simulation and come into our world, then it's not really a simulation.
Right.
So
It's-
I agree. It's like a I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the word would be.
Misnomer.
Yeah, but I was trying to think of what a good word to describe it would be, but I can't think of one. Like what actually?
Yeah.
If it's
because
not a
exactly.
simulation, what
Then
is the
what is it?
Infinite
Yeah.
Forest?
What do you call something that is perfectly recreating everything that they want to test and running it through the test with perfect fidelity? Like, what do you call it? It's a simulation, but also it's real. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
it's gotta be like a throne world type thing, because you see like
let's-
the Hive can get a throne world and use that to their own advantage and make it.
But that's
work
not
how
the
they want it
same.
to.
it's
It's
still
not the
very
same.
different. Yeah.
Because
It's
like
not the
okay,
same.
no, but a
Vex
throne
still-
world.
They're controlling everything in there, so they're creating their own piece of like existence.
From what we
Not-
understand, with the throne world, okay, it exists in the ascendant plane, right?
Mhm.
But it has certain rules that the creator of the throne world sets effectively. So the Hive throne worlds are all based heavily around sword logic and about strength and power. But that doesn't mean that, like, you know, when the Vex invaded Oryx's throne world, Oryx couldn't just say, "Oh well, you know what? I'm just gonna simulate 10,000 Hive acolytes, and this will be fine." Like, it's not a simulation by any description of the word.
Sorry to cut you off, but Bibletron actually has a good term for it. It's a reality factory. They're
it is
creating. They're pumping
yeah.
out alternate realities.
That's
a good one.
terrifying.
That is a fucking great term.
Yeah, it is. That's beautiful.
Reality fact. Hey, so let's just inch this a little bit forward and move on to the next part. Okay, so now we have the simulation seed, and that connects us back to the Infinite
So yeah,
Forest.
so would you agree that the simulation seed is the evidence that something was created in their reality factory and given to our timeline? Would you say, like, if something breaks down into a simulation seed, that it's from the Infinite Forest?
I would have to say so, yes, but in a different, like maybe something that hasn't been defined yet. But yes, I would have to say that is proof that somehow the Vex are able some back door, if you will, throughout the Taken series of events. They have found a way to impose their reality factory onto the real material world.
And so then, with what Cis Hero said in chat as well, everything is a simulation, and the Taken are like viruses. So, is the Haunted Forest a Taken? Like the Taken put in a Trojan into the Infinite Forest, became the Haunted Forest, and now we're just getting this like really twisted form of Taken Vex reality factory.
As a
Disgusting
virus,
merger.
As a virus would work, it would be different. As far if you're applying it to computer technology, if you're applying it to what we know in what we know in the real world, as far as does this virus take over? Does this replication take over? Whatever. We know that the Infinite Forest, after the events happen, and Osiris goes, basically it says, "Hey, see you later. Thanks a lot." We
You know where to
we
find
have
me.
right. So we know that we've done what we needed to do. Now that program is just infinitely running still within its own
Hmm.
constructs. Things are going to happen. I mean, things are going to start to emerge, and as we saw before, uh, the little or the little simulated enemies that we've encountered are starting to kind of glitch out, if you will, or
Hmm.
become different. And we see the haunted forest, and so that may be why it's kind of it's kind of come off of its original uh, programming. you know it's starting to deteriorate. It's starting to overheat, and so these little entities are starting to say, we're going nuts here. So now
Hmm.
we've got the haunted forest. So do you think
Mm.
that that is part of the reason why, is because of some of the events that have taken place, and now it's kind of overheating, and here we are?
I think
Or
I think that the haunted forest is not an accident to be happening exactly when it is happening. I think
Yeah.
everything that is happening in the Dreaming City, like if you were to play the Oracle engine this week, is it Shuro, the Techian that
Hmm.
starts it? Shuro mentions, she says like, I have reason to believe that this curse was influenced by a Vex, and it's like, what?
yeah,
Hmm.
Like obviously it was, but like the only feasible answer, because we have a Taken curse influenced by a Vex, is Quoria, and it just seems like the Taken and the Vex are slowly finally merging into like a singular purposed entity, because both of them are like a virus. Like we've been told since the beginning of Destiny that like Vex should not be messed with. Like the Volta Glass gear, I think it was the Warlock robes. It said like they slept in the robes, and it felt like it was like making it harder to breathe because it was kind of like
yeah,
syncing up with their
yeah,
body.
yeah. It's just
Hmm.
taking them over. I mean, Asher's a perfect example of what can go wrong. And then before that, what happened when you drink the radiolarian
Yeah,
fluid. I mean,
exactly.
all these
There's
little warning signs that
yeah,
were told to us. But
and the
it's
Vex
funny, like
and the Taken are the same.
to tie back to what you were saying earlier, the Vanguard's only going to tell you what they want you to know, because for
Hmm.
that reason. They don't want you going out there and just oops, drink some radiolarian fluid, and now we've got Vex everywhere or whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just it
Mm.
seems like every like, and that's something I really like. Super props to Bungie. Nothing feels like an accident. We are like what, 8 weeks in. We are
mhm.
a full 2 months actually. Did it release on the 4th or the 14th?
It was was
It
it
was
not
the
the fifth?
5th. No,
I don't know.
Destiny Forsaken. I mean.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I meant.
Oh, okay. Well, we are like a full like today, a full 2 months later, and we are still
Oh,
like, what is happening?
it was
oh,
the
that's just
fourth.
because
I
of the lore
apologize.
Yeah,
overload that we've had since Forsaken
Yeah.
drop. I mean, the amount of content
it's amazing.
in comparison to just anything, all of D1.
And like aside from the masks aspect of Festival of the Lost isn't just like, okay, it's time for an event. It's like, okay, we're gonna secretly continue the story, like right under your nose. We're just gonna paint it as an event, and no one's gonna even like pick up on that idea.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
think it's
absolutely.
amazing. They really deserve props for that.
So back to the infinite. So
Definitely.
back to the haunted
Definitely.
forest. Back to the haunted forest, and the uh, what I love to talk about is the daemons.
Hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's
we
talk about the
encounter.
daemons.
Yeah. So just in a nutshell, a daemon is basically any part of a computer's program that seemingly has a mind of its own, or seemingly does something within the confines of that of that program and hardware, and where it seems to have self repaired or self originated a different outcome than what was originally planned, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to keep it in layman's.
Hmm.
And I
I don't
know
know if
there's
I
a
I don't
much
know if
better
I
definition, but I
well, I
would
mean,
just say it has
I
a
think
dual entendre.
okay, fair enough. But I mean, I think generally speaking, a daemon is just any background process. That's what in
It'll
computing, that's generally a daemon is something that runs in the background and you don't really know it's there. You know.
exactly. and it's part of the processing that was originally mapped and constructed. But they have also used that word to describe not necessarily anomaly, because it is found and it does happen, but things that weren't originally intended as well. And so they've ascribed it to two simultaneous things that happen. One, it could be a positive outcome of something that wasn't originally perceived, or it could be a negative outcome of something that wasn't originally perceived, all within the script or original programming that the computer was mapped out with. And so the terminology over the years for daemon has kind of brought on this dual meaning, where people can say, oh, it is kind of a nefarious thing, or it is kind of a demonic thing, but that wasn't originally what it was intended for.
Okay, I have to say I've never heard it used in that sense.
Yeah, Sis here is saying the same thing in chat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if we were to say that the daemons that are originally within the Vex construct were used to keep the doors locked and keep you from advancing to the next stage level or simulation, and now the daemons have taken on a whole new form, and they still do kind of what they were doing before, but what happens when they bring you into the the boss encounter? What is that called?
The nightmare.
Right. So the nightmare scenario, can somebody have a good way to explain what's happening there?
What even is that room? Like, was that a room made specifically for that fight, or is that like a reused asset? Because it feels familiar. Like when I first got there, it does
look familiar, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And the thing about it is, the whole entire screen, your player screen, goes digital, or it goes in that refracted state.
Yeah, it's like it rewrites the program of where you are, so it's like, and there you go.
So what can anybody come up with something for that?
I mean, it's a good question. It's kind of the same effect that happens when you go through the pyramid, the triangular doors.
Yeah, it's basically that. It's like it's rewriting. It's a Vex loading screen essentially.
Right. But it's all of a sudden it's almost it just happens. It's not. It takes you out of what you were doing, and then you're all of a sudden you're in this one room, and the room's always there in the background, waiting.
It seems like the haunted forest isn't even meant to stop us. It's not. There's no real. Like, what's the end goal of the haunted forest? Like, ultimately,
right. There's not really like a good explanation for that.
At least with the infinite forest, we were going after Panoptes, and Panoptes is doing etc. But with the haunted forest, it's kind of just, there we are, and there's nightmares.
I think Guardian just sent a message saying his mic stopped working.
Oh yeah, I thought that's what happened. I saw him talking, and I thought he was just like mumbling to himself, and he had himself muted. I thought it was like, I wonder if this is true, and he's just like reading up on something to bring up a point. But it wasn't full conversations like that. It was just like, it looked like two words.
Yeah. So I just as we were talking there, I started thinking, like when we go into the infinite forest in Curse of Osiris, generally while the simulation is trying to stop us, we are interrupting a simulation that's in progress.
So what's the simulation of the haunted forest though? That's
the haunted. As we were talking, what occurred to me is, if you wanted to gather information about Guardians, the Infinite Forest in its former setting, where it was simulating fights between Fallen and Cabal and Hive and Vex, that's actually its primary goal is not to gather information about Guardians; it's to gather information about those races. But the the Haunted Forest, maybe that is a simulation with the goal of gathering information about Guardians.
Is that why there's loot at the end?
Exactly. Like this is how you get people in.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
This is it's perfectly designed, and loads of people have been saying, oh, the haunted forest is so much fun. Like this should be a permanent mode. This should replace the infinite forest. This is great.
This is what the infinite forest should have been. It's exactly what the Vex wanted.
Right.
That exactly. This is. They knew it. They've been listening.
Oh my god! No,
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely accurate.
I guess we'll have to
Can
find out.
someone
Guardian
field
says
that?
he agrees.
Like I don't
Just send a
want to.
message.
I don't want to like. What do I do this? I don't want to do like that and like lower the video feed just for him to say my mic still isn't working. I was trying to say that. I agree with that. Like I don't want to do this. Like that's boring. So like let's full screen it. People can see my background. It's the Pyramidion because I'm classy.
Oh, nice. I'm just. Let me just. Nice.
Damn.
Did we
I always
hit the pause button?
whenever
Mind blow.
whenever it feels like the Vex are doing something to us, I'm always like, God damn it. Like I know it's like a video game, but I always feel like I know what I'm doing when I'm going into something, but when it's about the Vex, I always feel like, oh fuck, the game got me again. Where like I just feel played. I'm like, yeah, this is fun, and then it's like a week after, I'm like, wait a second. Oh, I was played.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello. Welcome back.
Awesome.
Apparently, my mic just decides to change settings like in the middle of nothing.
Get a better mic. God damn. Get a new mic.
At least you have a camera, Oh. Yeah, that's right.
So another thing too is that as we were playing Festival of the Lost, we get a bunch of items that kind of harken back to the old days and the past enemies that we've run, and they've even recycled a few old ships. Like for instance, the I forget what class those were. Were they the Regalia class?
Arcadia?
Arcadia class, maybe. The one that
Oh no, it's not Arcadia. You're talking about the I know what ship you're talking about.
LRV2 Javelin.
Yeah.
Javelin. That's
class, that's it.
They've even used it for the new monarchy. It had a really cool hidden invisible hand.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. Anyway, so they've recycled some of the old stuff and some of the old counters just to kind of, throw the Festival of the Lost theme around. Like these are the past events, these are the people that we lost, and we're going to celebrate what we had. And so we see a few cool exotic ships drop, like for instance the Infected Seeker, which was rebuilt out of that whole old Javelin model.
Do you guys think the Infected Seeker is like a Siva throwback? Because I don't.
I don't think so. It doesn't look the same. Like it kind of looks almost close, but I don't think it's Siva.
Red vines are not Siva. Siva had those like black red pyramid shapes. Like those were a part of the infection, So to completely leave that piece out, it just feels like.
Well, originally I thought
One
the
second
same
for
thing.
me.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Where is he going? What is he doing?
I did think that it was. I thought it was Siva related, but I guess I hadn't really thought about it.
I originally didn't think it was Siva related until I went back and looked at some of the Rise of Iron stuff and realized that when the Lords of Iron were infected, they had the red vines, basically. And it didn't necessarily mean that the ship had Siva on it. It just means the ship had the infected form of Siva, which the Iron Lords look like afterwards. But the reason why originally I thought that, but now I don't anymore, and now I think it is a Siva ship, is because we get another ship which has a Siva icon on it. Did y'all notice that one?
I feel as though I saw a screenshot.
It's the first domino.
Yeah, you were muted. Oh yeah, I did see that. First domino. Let me just look it up.
So originally I didn't think it was, and then once I saw the other ship with the Siva icon on it, I did. Is basically what I was getting at.
Okay,
the
so
first
I've gotten
domino
that ship many times, and I never fucking saw that. So
Well, it's on the other side for one thing.
And they purposefully tinted a color that wouldn't be noticeable, almost as
So-
if they just slid it in.
Here you go. If you can see on let me open this. If you can see right here, basically right in the center, it's upside down, but right where I'm circling. Zoom in. That didn't do shit. So right here, that actually absolutely is the Siva logo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a crazy good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice it until I was, trying to recolor. I just liked the ship, and I got it in game, and then I was recoloring it, and I put on the Crimson Passion, whatever shader it is.
Crimson Passion is one of the best shaders for most of the stuff coming from the Festival of Lost stuff. I just want to say that really quick. The lichen whatever shell, it's got like blood drip on it for some reason. The werewolves are all about
cool.
the
I
blood.
didn't know that.
But
I didn't know they had blood on that one.
yeah, like blood or slime,
Cool.
whatever. Depends
And yeah,
on the color
it's
you
got
give it.
it's got a drippity texture.
I don't know why they would call it. I don't know why they would give that to a lichen shell though, right? Like it should be furry, shouldn't it?
Well, lichens, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a werewolf, right? Kind of. It's a better werewolf. It's a better werewolf, is what it is. The lichen is because a werewolf is a person that turns into a wolf. A lichen is a werewolf. It's a wolf person. So that was funny because I had to, when I was looking it up to define it, I had to kind of just, why is it? Because it says the beast inside, which is just funny.
Interesting.
Remember that game Altered Beast? And you turn into a lichen?
No.
I don't know. That was a really old game, right?
Yeah, it really was. It was an old game. At
Yeah,
one point, you
that was
even turned into a dragon, which was pretty cool.
It was for the Mega Drive.
The what?
Sorry, the Genesis. I forgot.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis.
Americans.
You had a completely different named game console?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
call
Mega
this the
Drive?
Mega Drive over there?
Yeah.
That's
Why
dumb.
did I not know this?
It was called the Mega Drive everywhere outside of North America.
Europe is
Get outta
dumb.
here.
Well, I mean, it came from Japan.
Right.
Also dumb.
So, and the rest of the world.
Also dumb. Genesis, come on. That's like such a great name. Mega Drive? That's so pretentious.
It's like a transformer.
All right.
So I have to leave soon.
Yeah,
but I had a
what-
random thought. So what if we're the ones that caused the Vex simulations in our world? Because we're taking simulation seeds out of the Infinite Forest constantly to give it to Brother Vance.
shit.
So what if literally we're the ones they're saying don't do it, and then we're just bringing stuff out, and it's just like, why'd you do this? Like, look where this ended up. I'm like, I don't know.
What if that's not even fucking Brother Vance? What if that's a simulation of Brother Vance, and that's why he's so lame now?
It would be great if in like some future episode, Osiris would be like, "Okay, something's going wrong. I don't know. Did anybody take any simulation seeds out of the Infinite Forest? Because you weren't supposed to do that, right?"
Brother Vance just backs away slowly.
Like there's a future iteration where Osiris becomes the NPC, and it's like, whoa,
goodness.
why do you have simulation seeds?
We bring him a simulation seed, like, here, have this, and like, no, what have you done?
Put this back.
We're idiots. That's why they left them there. That's why they're just all over. They're like, if the Guardians will take this. It's like the plants that evolve to be spicy, like peppers. The plants. It's peppers evolve to be spicy because birds don't have taste buds to recognize spice. So birds will eat the peppers, not being burnt, swallow the seeds, not digest them, poop them out, and it spreads naturally grown peppers. So that's what the Vex did with simulation seeds. They're like, idiot Guardians will pick these up and bring them elsewhere. Let's put them here.
Interesting.
What does Vance use the simulation seeds for?
That's a good
Why does he want them?
Why does anyone want anything?
Well, that's true.
I guess
Sis
to
Hero
build more
says,
weapons and more.
We are
Oh.
birds.
But he also says in Brazil it was also called the Mega Drive.
I think I covered the rest of the world already. He also said birdsaren'treal.com. So Guardians gotta go, and we are gotta go soon, and we are coming up on the end of our time. So what are some closing statements on the Haunted Forest? I know we were kind of trying to talk about Eva, but we can do a whole NPC episode and talk about Eva.
We do need to come back and talk about
possibly break people's hearts, possibly inspire.
Maybe a bit of both.
Yeah. For anyone watching or listening, there is a new lore book that came with the most recent update in the middle of, or at the end of, rather, the Festival of the Lost. This lore book does not qualify for the chronicler title, but if you want it, it is 5 pages?
It is 5 pages.
5 pages. It's called Eva's Journey, and you can get it from Heroic daily story missions. Originally, people were thinking it was Red War exclusive, but I have had a couple confirmations that they got it from Forsaken Heroic event stories as well. So it does not seem to be tied specifically to the Red War campaign, but that's a little disappointing to me. I was really hoping Red War would be Eva, Curse of Osiris would be Osiris or Brother Vance, and Warmind would be Anna Bray or maybe Rasputin. This each iteration had their own, so you actually have a reason to go play different stories, not just like, okay, which one takes less than 5 minutes? Let's do that one.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Eva, and then because we have the Master Ives quest that we should be finishing in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll do like another, and we'll just do a whole NPC episode where we just like essentially tell everyone, hey, we were right. It was Rahul the whole time. Go see Tyra in the tower. I'm saying it was obviously freaking Rahul. It was definitely him.
That would be great. I would love that if Rahul gets like put away and then Tyra replaces him. Like, yeah. Rahul.
They better, if it is Rahul, they better have like an animated cinematic of Rahul like getting escorted out of the tower. Like it doesn't need dialogue. It just needs Rahul escorted out do the tower. That's all.
You just have to have that one like super old guardian just sitting in the corner like 1,000 deaths is not enough for Rahul.
Who do you think the least likely person?
It's always the person you most medium expect.
Just Phyllis.
It'll be what was his name? Shiro.
Yeah, I did wonder that. Then I actually wondered, what if it was Eva Levante?
Yeah, that would be neat.
Why would Eva go to the reef? It has to be someone who has access to the reef.
I blame Benedict.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like obviously it has to be someone that everyone knows, right? Otherwise, it's gonna be like, well, it's that guy.
What if it was Varix?
No.
It could be. But like the issue is Destiny 2. If they're trying to do a thing for Destiny 2, right? You can't do NPCs like Varix. You can't do NPCs like Eva. You can't do NPCs like Shiro or Eris. Yeah, there's all these NPCs that are no longer around. So it's like, well, how do you do that? How do you go about
It's the map frame. Whatever happened to him?
The bounty tracker frame?
Yeah.
There was 3 of them.
Yeah.
They all got laid off.
What if it was Aldrin?
Well, it was already said to not be Aldrin because it wasn't one of those. Yeah, that's how it starts. It was not Aldrin. So like that's my point though. Like it has to be someone we know. So the list of possibles is Hawthorne, Tyra, Rahul, Drifter, which it won't be. One of the 3 faction leaders. Speaker's dead, so it can't be him. One of the 2 remaining Vanguard. Amanda, which would be really stupid.
I think Tyra.
Tess.
I hope it's Amanda.
Tyra. And I will absolutely include Fenchurch as a possibility because there is no way no one does not know the name Fenchurch.
How many double negatives was that? That was like a quadruple negative.
If I'm not living quadruple negatives, I'm not living.
Mm.
I'm gonna blame Tyra. I think Tyra was trying to find the Black Armory, and Master Ives got in her way, and so Tyra killed Ives, and that's how we get into the Black Armory after the quest
I
is
would
done.
love that.
But see, that's kind of why I think it's going to be Rahul, because if it's Rahul, then Tyra comes to the tower, everyone says, you to Rahul, bye, and there's no reason to go to the farm, because there's no reason to go to the farm. But that's a good reason for it to be Tyra as well.
Poor
I think that'd be a good move. I think it'd be kind of nice to have, because it'd be a new Cryptarch, and it'd really seem nice.
Tyra had a history of Starlight, as said in her ship, so she could very well have some sort of backdoor entry to the reef. She's awoken. She just like the other Cryptarchs, but she has, kind of.
And it has to be an Awoken. So then that narrows it down even further to be Arak Jalal, which doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, that's
Tyra, Fenchurch, Rahul, and Tess. Like, those are the 5 prime suspects, and
what
maybe
if
it'll
it
be
was...
Tess, and we'll get a new Eververse person who's less annoying.
Oh my god, that's how we get Luna. It was Tess.
Luna's Howl.
No, Luna. That's her name, right?
What?
Yuna. That's how we get Yuna.
Who?
The Korean Tess.
Ah.
Destiny released in Korea as Destiny Guardians or something like that, and they don't have Tess. They have an NPC called Yuna, who was data mined to be in our version of Destiny 2, but she's still not here. She's supposed to be something herself.
She lives down there by Ikora and Hawthorne too, is where her spot is, which is funny.
Oh well.
But
I'd love if so since Destiny 1, I have hated Tess Everest and all the stupid things that she says. I know this might not be a popular opinion.
Actually, it is.
I think since Eververse, it's a more popular opinion. But I have hated Tess since before Eververse.
You know what I hate about Tess, really quick? We have been in the new tower for almost 2 years now, for a full year now, and her shop is still literally a curtain with all the junk behind it. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Plus, that curtain is super pixelated, which always bothered me.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. Arr.
The thing that annoys me most about her, even in Destiny 1, she would say things like, she would just name drop all the time. She's always name dropping. Yes, Zavala, I got the message. Who are you talking to? You're not on the phone. You're like, we're in the middle of a conversation.
She starts talking to you before you even load in.
Naturally, I sent the whole shipment back. Shut up.
I go, if we're going to punish people, it's going to be Tess or Rahul. If we're just going to have it lead into oh yeah, you did what was right and cool, it's going to be Tyra.
Yeah, my top 3, it's going to be Rahul, then Tess, then Fenchurch. Just so it's either Rahul, you get rid of Rahul, Tess, you get rid of Tess, Fenchurch, she can never again say, Fenchurch something today. At least
that's not true, because then they'll just give her different dialogue. I'm like, oh, Fenchurch went and did something stupid. It's like, I miss Fenchurch.
they will give her different dialogue. Fenchurch died today. Like, this every day.
I went to visit Fenchurch in prison.
Yeah, needless to say, I sent the whole shipment back to Fenchurch. From prison. That's when Eververse starts selling shivs.
Oh yeah, Volts said on chat, needless to say, I sent the whole shipment back to Fenchurch.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Oh, that's why you read it. All right. I just feel as though it's such a... Yeah, I hope she... Something has to change. Now is the time.
Just switch her and Zavala's locations so we can hear him instead of her. That's all it is.
Did you notice that Zavala,
needless to say,
if you can run through all the other NPCs except for Zavala, you can't move through him?
Because he's a wall.
That's what I thought.
He is.
All right. We just fucking went off the rails. So,
We did.
That's every week.
Yeah. crap. I know we started talking about maybe not doing 2 weeks from now, but doing next week instead. I don't know if I can make that. So we'll post on Twitter what's going to be going on for the next episode. Probably going to be NPCs. We just want to talk about NPCs, like, because that's what we're just doing now. We'll just talk about all the NPC lore. Eva's journey, which you can get, etc.
Or if you don't want to get it, you can just go to the Ishtar Collective and read it there.
Mm-hmm. You can't find it by searching though, but you can read it there.
So
you can find it.
I was talking to Purple earlier today, and we were saying so I'm not sure exactly how this would work, but we might create like a books page.
This entirely books. I support that
Yeah.
because we're clearly getting more.
And that's the thing. Like, if this was a one-off thing, it probably wouldn't be worth doing. But now that
there's already like 12. Like, that's enough for me to say there should just be a page in general, even if it was a one-off.
It might be some, like the artifacts page that we created for items. It might be kind of, I don't know. We'll figure something out because at the moment it isn't really ideal. So
if you want to find us, we are at Loose Canon Show on Twitter, and you can find us there. And bye.
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 Stop this stream.